Hi, thanks so much for joining me on the Everything and Anything in a Bit Gay podcast. Today I have an author on my show. Her name is Sue William Silverman, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to meet you.
So you have a brand new book out called Selected Misdemeanors, and I have a million questions about it, but kind of give my audience a little bit about what the book is about.
Sure, absolutely. So this is the book, Selected Misdemeanors, and the subtitle is Essays at the Mercy of the Reader. So I'm trying to, I have these misdemeanors, but I want the reader to kind of like me anyway, please forgive me. So the book is a series of about 71 flash essays, which means they're short, but there is an overall theme.
Okay.
And the overall theme is that the narrator is sort of searching for a sense of home, a sense of belonging, a sense of place, security, comfort. But the misdemeanors that she gets herself involved with are sort of sabotage her desire for the home. So they're sort of like at odds with each other. And so on the one hand, she wants the security and everything, but her behaviors just fight against it. And that's kind of the major tension of the book.
Okay.
But I do want to hasten to add that the misdemeanors, like I've never been in jail, and that, no criminal actions or anything like that, that the misdemeanors are really emotional misdemeanors.
Got it. And it's been described as kind of flash nonfiction. Can you explain what that means?
Yes. So flash nonfiction means that each essay is very short, very contained, maybe anywhere from about one paragraph to maybe about 1,000 or 1,500 words. So there's a bit of wiggle room there, but they're all short. And I kind of think of them as sort of these small moments of beauty, miniature forms of betrayal, and kind of snippets of loss. So the form itself is small, but inside there's sort of this vast universe that's explored really through the use of metaphor. So you can really explore a lot in a very short space.
Yeah. So no crimes, no sins, nothing like that have taken place.
Well, sins, but nothing that landed me in jail.
Okay, got it. What inspired you to kind of do this? What was it? Was it something that you kind of had inside you and you wanted to just express it in writing and in a book?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, let me just back up a second because this is about my 8th book, actually.
Okay.
So my first 2 books were long memoirs, like say about 250 pages or so. So they had a straight through narrative long. And then the next 2 books of creative nonfiction were memoir in essay form. So the essays were longer, also a unified theme. But what I'd never done is written much of flash, these short pieces. So it really is kind of like the growth of me as a writer, evolving as a writer.
Oh, interesting.
Wanting a new challenge for myself because, as a writer, you don't want to keep doing the same thing.
Yeah.
You want to experiment, try something new. And this is a form that's very popular now, this flash form. And I thought, well, I want to try to do that, see if I could do it. And, there's a bit of a learning curve as with everything, but that's part of the fun of it. It's part of what holds your interest in everything. So that's really what inspired me is that I just wanted to try something new. But the other thing is that, so initially as a writer, I think most writers sort of do start off with these kind of big concept memoirs. Like my first one was growing up as an unhappy child, a lot of trauma in my past. The second one was recovering from like a love addiction. So I had these big topics. But when you think about it, think about all the rest of your life that's really all these small moments that really make up a life, that sometimes a reader or a writer can just sort of forget about or ignore. But so I just think about all these small increments of time between these big events that I'd never really thought about that much. And so I wanted to kind of really look at those because they're meaningful,
Yeah.
I mean, is most of our life or just, day by day, these small increments of time. So it was really also a desire to kind of dig deeper into my life in a new way.
I have 2 questions for you. One is, how did you pick the 71 different kind of different little stories or essays? And number 2, did it help you from a therapeutic standpoint to kind of get through some of those, like, as writing them out? Because I think it could have maybe went, either way. It could have helped you therapeutically, or it could have brought back some old memories, or maybe a combination of both. Like, how did it go for you?
Yeah. So first of all, the 71 is, I mean, I'm sort of embarrassed, but it's just completely, that's what I ran out of things to say.
Okay, got it. Yeah, okay, good.
It's like, okay, this book is done. It sort of felt done, that I had
Yeah.
enough. Yeah. In terms of writing being either therapeutic or it's, I can't say it's therapeutic. I mean, because in therapy, I'm sort of a mess and I'm, crying and screaming and all of that, things that we do in therapy. And I'm sort of really showing my life as a mess in therapy. Art, on the other hand, so creative nonfiction is really turning your life into art.
Mhm.
So that is taking the messiness of life and turning it into a structured kind of work of art. I mean, every book, every essay is its own sort of, form of art. And so it's sort of the opposite of therapy in a way. It's taking like all the messiness of life, the messiness of therapy, and giving it that structure, that form, so that you can really explore it and go deeper and understand like the metaphor, the experience. Like in therapy, I've been I'm not in therapy now, but I had been like for years. I'm sure I
Mhm.
never once thought about, oh, that's a metaphor for something. I
Yeah.
mean, that's just not where your headspace
Yeah,
is in
yeah.
therapy. And so, but when you are thinking about your life in terms of art, then, well, what is the metaphor for that experience? Because, and metaphor is one way that you can have this small form, but yet have the message be universal, because metaphor offers a universality to your writing.
Yeah.
If you want, do you want me to give you like sort of an example of
Yeah,
what
I
I,
would love that. Yeah.
okay, sure. So, in one of the essays, my sister and I we're young, we're growing up. We happened to live in the West Indies at the time, and we play this game. We walk on our hands to see who could reach the end point first.
Yeah.
So I love and worship my sister, my older sister. She wanted nothing to do with me. She just rejected me all the
You mean
time.
you were younger?
I was younger, yeah.
But how about now? How's your relationship now?
It's not much better,
Okay.
frankly.
Okay.
Sad to say,
Yeah.
she's still sort of rejecting me, and I don't idolize her as much anymore because I kind of gave up on it,
Yeah.
but I still sort of hold out hope. But anyway, but the only time she would play with me would be when we would walk on our hands because she knew she could beat me, and and I would and I would do it. I was fine if she beat me because at least she was paying attention to me, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, so we're walking on our hands. And if I was just telling you the story as I am, that's sort of all it is.
Mhm.
But during the writing process, I have to make sense of that. Like that moment has stuck in my mind. Like, what did that mean to me? And it's only during the writing process that I came to understand, oh, my sister was upside down. So then I started thinking of her as the upside down sister.
Mhm.
And then it becomes a metaphor for a kind of upside down love. And so that's the metaphor. So, for example, let's say, people watching, you don't have an older sister, or if you do, you never walked on your hands like that. So
Yeah.
you can't maybe identify exactly with that experience, but probably everybody on some level has had some love that's gone awry, that feels sort of upside down, that's not
Mhm.
in harmony. So by writing about this upside down sister metaphorically, the reader then can identify just with that feeling of upside down love, or just, love that's not a kind of pure sort of love. So that's what I mean by metaphor, is that the writing process is where you discover, oh, that event is a metaphor for, sort of fill in the blank. Because
Yeah.
if I just said, oh, well, my sister didn't love me very much, you can say, oh, well, that's too bad. But that absence of love, that's such an abstract concept, right? And so you have to show it in this very tangible, concrete way. And that's what this metaphor is taking this tangible entity, like walking upside down on your hands, and showing it in such a way that it will convey this idea of an upside down love, or a love that's not kind of equal or balanced. Does that
Did
make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does make sense. Did you send her the book?
No.
Does she know about the book?
Yeah. We're friends on Facebook. So,
Okay. Do you
yeah,
think she read the book?
no.
Okay.
No, I don't think she really, I doubt if she's read any of my books, which is okay. I mean, it's just, that's just where we're at. I mean,
Yeah.
I think she's a little jealous of me, and she kind of, it's sort of crazy at this point. I mean, sibling rivalry, you can
Yeah.
understand up to like being, in first grade, right? But
Yeah.
after that, like, get over it, right?
Yeah.
She's still holding on to it. And I mean, in her own way, yes, she does love me. It's really that she cannot show it.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's not really helpful for me at all.
Yeah. I mean, I have a younger brother who's 6 years younger. Um, and the 6 years is a big difference to grow up because you're really,
That
you know,
is a big difference.
and we were two different people as well. And I mean, I'm thinking when I went to college, he was still in junior high, so he was young.
Yeah.
But then whenever he got older, we tried to have a relationship together for a while, but he had addiction issues and a lot of DUIs and just drinking. And there was times where we didn't talk for years because he abused my family and my parents and me and stuff. I mean, he just really was there. And then one day he decided on his own my parents sent him to rehab many times. And one day on his own, he's like, "Hey, I'm going to go to rehab. I'm not going to," and he never drank or did drugs again.
Good for him. Good for him, because that's a big step. That's
It's
great.
huge. And it's been 12 years maybe
Oh,
now.
that's wonderful.
Yeah, and he owns his own house now. He's got a great job. He's in a stable relationship. It's like he completely turned around. So,
Well, people really can. Yeah.
yeah, and I never thought we would have a relationship. So,
Yeah. So what a gift that is.
it is, yeah, because one day, like our fathers died years ago. We're lucky enough to still have our mother, but one day it's just going to be the two of us. So,
Yes, exactly.
neither one of us have kids, and we're lucky that we have partners in our life, but we're going to have each other only one day. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now that's a beautiful story.
Yeah, and my dad used to always tell me one day he's going to be your best friend. I'm like, he's never going to be my best friend. So, but
Your
parents are
dad
always
was
kind of
right.
right. Talk to me about the love addiction piece.
Sure.
Is that part of your sister, or was that was a love in your life, or loves?
No. So the addiction is sort of a sex and love addiction.
Okay.
And basically, growing up, my father, he sexually molested me.
Oh.
And so basically from him, I kind of got this mixed message, kind of that sex is love, love is sex. I didn't understand the difference. So then when I got older and I began dating and everything, I did not date appropriate men at all because I didn't know how to. I didn't know what an appropriate man would be. So I would have affairs. Like when I went off to college, my first relationship was this man. He was married. He was old enough to be my father. He lived across the street from my dorm. Like what could go wrong, right?
Yeah.
And so the addiction really had to do with, adultery and just these really inappropriate relationships. And that's a lot of the misdemeanors are these, relationships where, just being involved with inappropriate men.
Yeah.
And just making, a mess of my life because later on when I was married, again, what I was saying at the beginning is that I wanted the safety of the home. So I did get married and thought, okay, now I'm safe. But then this addiction, as you know from your brother, is really strong.
Yeah.
And so I just couldn't stay faithful. So I just kept sort of blowing up, something that maybe could have been stable. I would just kind of blow them up until but then I got into rehab like your brother. And, I had, both outpatient therapy and then I was in rehab for like 28 days. And
wow.
so like your brother, eventually I got, stable and, and what I would say sort of sexually sober,
Yeah.
in that sense. Yeah.
And did it save your marriage or no?
No, it didn't.
Okay.
And in some ways, I mean, my therapist always would say water seeks its own level. So these men had issues too, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. But once I did get sober, once I got stable and everything, I did find somebody
Okay,
who,
good.
yeah. So, yeah. So, and it's somebody, I mean, he's just lovely. I mean, it's somebody I would have looked at back in the addiction because he was like too nice. He was too
Yeah.
stable. He was too loving. And
Are
that
you still
was,
together now?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Isn't it
Yeah.
funny how things work out?
It is. It absolutely is. It's somebody who just is complete. He's like my person,
Yeah.
and I never would have noticed him back when I was like acting out. So, yeah. So, if any of your listeners are struggling with something, there's help out there. There's hope out there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think people think, going to a rehab or inpatient facility is always just alcohol or drugs, and it's not. It's so much other things. So it's
Yeah.
kind of nice that you're talking about that openly.
Yes. Thank you.
Tell me just about how writing this has kind of shifted your overall thinking. Just about maybe how you would have done things differently earlier in your life, or how you would have maybe confronted some things earlier in your life. Did the writing these essays kind of help you think that through at all?
Well, ironically, it made me realize that I couldn't have done anything differently
Mhm.
earlier. I mean, it's just that, this stuff happened in my childhood. I kept sort of repeating this unfortunate habit, but the writing still helped me understand it. So there's still like that gift of writing that even though, I can't really regret anything I've done because, so I mean, like right now, I'm a successful writer and
Mhm.
I kind of like myself and I have a really good
Good.
teaching job. And I was just made a program chair of my department. And so my life would have been so completely different. And I can't say that I would do something different because everything that I did in the past brought me to
Part
who
you
I
Yeah.
am now. And so, I have great colleagues where I teach. I love my students. I love teaching. I love writing and I get to meet you. I never would have
Yeah.
met you if things had
Yeah.
been there. So it's stuff like that. You just have to, even if sad or hurtful things happened to you in the past, you kind of, and on some level, have to embrace it, make sense of it,
Yeah.
sort of incorporate it into your being, but also if you're a writer, by making sense of it through the writing, then you can let it go. So like the things that used to hold me in their grip before, like what happened
Mm.
with my father, the addiction, writing it sort of puts it out. So now it's on pieces of paper. Now it's a book. It's out in the world, which means I've sort of taken it out of me and
Good.
put it out there. And so it's not, so I'm not in its grip anymore.
Yeah.
So, but I had to go through all of this to get to this place.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I kinda know the feeling what you're talking about. I can relate to it because it's like I've been doing this podcast for almost 2 years now, and there's things I've talked about my personal life that I never thought I would have shared with people. And when I turned 50, I actually stopped caring really altogether what people thought about me. And, I mean, as long as I was happy with myself, then that's what I cared about. And I went through a period of time where I've talked about this in previous podcast episodes, but where I'd cut a lot of people out of my life that just didn't belong there. Either they weren't treating me the way I deserved to be treated, or they were using me, or whatever it was. And it felt so good. And then I went through like a 6-month period when I cut down on my life where I would think about them often, thinking, did I make a mistake? And now I don't think about them at all. But
Yeah.
this podcast is kind of like I don't want to call it therapy, but it gives me a way to kind of express things. And, sometimes I'll put something out and I'll get a direct message from somebody on Instagram saying, that was so helpful that you said that because I was going through that too. Or, just I'll get random emails sometimes from people just saying thanks for putting that out there, and it made me realize I'm not the only one or something, you
Well,
know?
see, exactly. I mean, that's the important thing. These things happened in your past,
Mhm.
but you've able to make sense of them. I mean,
Yeah,
so your podcast is your own form of art. I mean, that's what you're doing here.
yeah,
And so with me, with writing, I mean, I can now look back and see, oh gosh, these men. And the good part is that I can look back and see, almost feel it viscerally, like in my body, like, oh God, how could I have done that? But knowing that that's never going to happen again.
yeah,
Like now, say I can go to a party and I can say, oh, that man, he's a dangerous man. So
yeah,
I go to the other side of the room.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I definitely, learned a lot of things also just kinda talking about them in my podcast, so I wanna talk
exactly.
about your fascination with Pat Boone. So, tell me a little bit about that, and what did he represent kind of to you?
So, yeah, so growing up, he was, for those of you who don't know, he's a from the early 60s pop music idol.
Mhm,
And he was known for being really squeaky, squeaky clean. And he
mhm,
had 4 daughters and just, all of that. So to me, he was the antithesis of my own father.
mhm,
So he was the metaphor for sort of like the good father. So I
mhm.
wanted him to adopt me. Basically, he had 4 daughters. Hey, couldn't I just move in? I'd be his 5th daughter. He
Yeah,
wouldn't even notice. Yeah, I just sort of get lost there. Okay, so I had this crush on him when I was a little kid or a young teen
yeah.
or preteen. Then flash forward a bunch of years. I'm a writer and I've published my first book. And I just happened to notice in the newspaper, he's going to be giving like this golden oldies concert, like 15 minutes from my house.
Oh,
I figure I've got to go.
yeah,
So I write out a little letter because I think I'm going to meet him. So I write out a little letter. I put it inside the first book about growing up in this unfortunate family. So I go to the concert. It's fine. After the concert's over, I am so going to meet him. So I just barge past security. I go backstage. I'm looking for him. I open this door. There he is. I say, Pat Boone. And like, he looks at me like, who is this crazy woman? Right.
yeah,
And I just like start babbling. I said, growing up, I wanted you to adopt me, and you were such a good father, and my own father was hurting me. And I threw the book at him with the letter and all of that.
yeah,
And but he was rather gracious. He was nice. He said, yeah, those things happen to kids, and I'm so
yeah,
sorry. Anyway, and then his manager tosses me out.
yeah.
But anyway, then like, I don't know, quite a bit later, then I've written this book. My third book is called The Pat Boone Fan Club, My Life as a White Anglo-Saxon Jew. So I've written this book about him, but I get a letter from him saying, but this was actually right before the book came out. And he said, I read this was my first book, and I sort of remember meeting you, not kind of, but he said, I'm going to be back in Michigan, which is where I live. Why don't you come to my concert? Come backstage. We'll have like a real conversation. So I said, sure. So I go, it's across the state. I drive, it's like a snowstorm. I drive across the state and we go to, it's like a Christmas concert. Afterwards, I go backstage and wait for him in the green room, and he comes in. And I'm like, oh my God, it's just so bizarre.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there and I'm wearing this little kind of a lavender jacket with this flower embroidered on it. So he sits down and he looks at the flower and he says, at home, I have a photograph of a flower growing up through concrete. And that's what you remind me of, a flower growing up through concrete. Yes. And then he says, I've read your book. I think you're an amazing writer. And, he just, heaps this praise on me. And so in this really bizarre sort of way, he does become the father I always wanted.
That's amazing.
It's completely amazing. And there's more. And then my book, the Pat Boone Fan Club book, is published. And he invites me to his 80th birthday party celebration out in Hollywood.
Wow.
So I'm so there. So he says, bring copies of your book, So I have a picture of Pat Boone holding a copy of my book, The Pat Boone Fan Club.
Did you ever think that could be possible when you were writing it?
No, totally not. I mean, like, no, of
When
course
you
not.
came backstage for the Christmas concert, did he remember you at all from the first time?
A little bit, it's
Yeah.
sort of vague,
I mean,
but
he probably has all these crazy things happening to him
of
throughout
course,
his yeah,
he's like in his mid 80s now. So,
yeah.
yeah, but he did sort of remember, but he had read the book that I thrust at him, which was my first book. And he'd read it, and he actually had read my second book, which is about the addiction, and then the third book was about him. And I think, he was always sort of compared to Elvis Presley. We both
Yeah.
know who was the more famous person,
Yeah,
Elvis
yeah.
Presley. But so I think on another hand, he was like grateful that he really did mean something, that
Yeah.
he was really meaningful to somebody.
Yeah.
And so it's been wild. And then, I've been sending him my new books, and I just sent him a copy of, Selected Misdemeanors. So now he's like sending me fan mail.
That's amazing.
It is.
That is so amazing. What do you say to I mean, I think it's amazing that you had the courage to really kind of put all this out there about yourself, you know? And I think to me, I think it probably helped a lot of women and people, just people in general, just realizing they're not the only ones and stuff. But what would you kind of tell women that have maybe gone through similar things? Would you tell them, they don't have to write a book, but would you tell them find a way to express this, get it out, kind of like how you said you got it out, you put it out there and you published it, and then it almost felt like you were saying it almost wasn't part of you anymore. Like you got rid of it in a way. Like what would you tell a woman another woman that's gone through similar stuff to do something similar?
Well, if they can, go to therapy. Of course, that can always be really
Yeah.
helpful. But also, and maybe a therapist can help you find it, but now with the internet, they're probably even online. Find a group of other women
Mhm.
with similar issues, because being in a group really, like I was in a group for quite a while, being in a group in many ways was even more helpful than individual therapy, because you're with other women who've just had the exact same experience. And it's the kind of thing, well, it's all based sort of on the 12 steps.
Mhm.
There is power in the group, and there is, like, if you feel sad or lonely, you pick up the phone and call somebody in your group, and they'll sit with you and talk with you until you start feeling better, knowing that they've experienced the same thing. So it's that interaction with other women. And that's one thing that my books have helped a lot, because as I put them out into the world, I've gotten just hundreds of, emails and contacts from other women, sort of two things, sort of thanking me for telling their story too.
Yeah.
But also, so my book has helped them sort of see their own lives. But when they contact me, it also empowers me. So there's sort of like this energy between myself as a writer and the readers. And so we are sort of all in it together. So it's just finding, these other women who have had similar experience and making that connection. Because the thing that's so hard is that it's so lonely when you don't have somebody else who has
Yeah.
experienced what you've had, or a therapist who might understand it. But otherwise, you are so lonely. You think you're the only one, and you're not. There are just thousands of us out there. So it's just making like a phone call or searching on the
Yeah.
internet, looking for other people who can, connect with you and relate on that deep emotional level.
Let me ask you my final question. Do you ever stop and reflect and kind of think about how your writing has helped people or brought them joy? Or, think about the thousands of people like the Pat Boone, like other people like that read that book that you kind of just brought these memories back, maybe as a child or whatever. Or this new book, how maybe you're helping women kind of like process things on their own. Have you ever stopped and think about like all the good that you kind of put out in the world because of your writing?
It's hard for me to sort of just say that myself, but it makes me feel really wonderful when you say it.
Yeah, I think you should.
When
I think you should stop sometimes and reflect on what the good that you put out there, though.
Yeah, I mean, I do try to, because I know that, when you've had a tough childhood, your life can go in so many
Hmm.
unfortunate directions, and which mine did for quite a while. But then I did turn it around, both through therapy and through writing. And I do know, I mean, that my books help people. I mean, like after I give a reading, women will come up to me and they're clutching my book,
Yeah,
whichever one it is. and just thank me, and they've
Yeah.
got tears in their eyes, and then I get teary, and it's just like, but it's such an intense moment to have that connection. And so I guess I can see it when I meet other women, but just in their emails too, of course.
Yeah.
And I do know that to be true, but I'm humbled by it. I mean, it's like, that I've been able to do anything good with my life. It's kind of astonishes me when I think of where, I could have gone.
Yeah. You should be very proud, though, I think.
Oh, thank you.
Like,
Thank
I think
you.
it's amazing. I think what you are doing and just the fact that you're telling your story and, you're just saying, "This is who I am," and I think it's really brave and amazing. So I'm so glad that you
Thank you so
did.
much. That really touches me so deeply.
Good.
And just talking to you, I just feel, yeah. Thank you for such great questions.
Yep.
I feel very safe talking to you.
Oh, good. Well, I think everybody should go out and buy your book. It's called Selected Misdemeanors: Essays at the Mercy of the Reader. And I will put a link either in this video or the podcast description so you can go out to Sue's website or you can go to, I'm sure it's on Amazon.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll put a link directly to the book I'll put a link to Sue's page on Amazon. So if you want to look at her other books as well, and go out and buy her book and support her because she seems like she is a terrific woman and we need to support people like her. So
Oh, thank you so much.
thanks everybody for listening. Be sure to leave a comment and about what you thought about this episode. And thanks so much for listening and thanks for being on, Sue.
Thank you. Bye.